Like, where is it? Always makes me a little nervous. Here we go. Let me make sure I can get it here. All right. Enter the volume down so we're not hearing this double. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. We are currently streaming live in the Streamline Business Strategies Facebook group. If you are watching in the group, come on in, let us know you're here. Say hello, or if you're watching the replay, just type replay in. Would love to know who is here. If you are watching on YouTube or listening on the Small Biz 101 podcast, hello to you as well. I so appreciate you being here to either watch or listen. I'm very excited about this interview that we have coming up today. For those of you who are familiar with this, I do these interviews once or twice a month to support small business owners by providing experts in areas needed by entrepreneurs. So we've done a whole bunch of topics over the last year or so, including legal support, mindset support, amazing library resources, amazing and really surprising public library resources, website considerations, making the most of your sales efforts. There's so many recently, and we'll be talking about the importance of your relationship with money when it comes to business growth and success today. So with that, I would love to introduce my guest, Christine Matthew. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. With money as the classroom, Christine teaches individuals, families, and business owners how to transform their relationship with wealth by changing the way they look at money, what they believe about themselves, and what they think is possible. So Christine is a certified money coach. She also has decades of experience as a financial advisor, legacy officer, as a wealth coach. Uh, Coffee is Christine's favorite time of day, which I love. I still have some mornings. And spirituality is her favorite subject. And if Christine is not at work or at home, you will find her on the sidelines of a soccer field cheering on her boys. And I know many of you are watching or listening from the Western New York area. Christine's joining me here from East Aurora. So we've got a neighbor here to help guide us. So Christine, I'm just so happy to have you here with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. This is great.
So tell us, wealth coaching. What is wealth coaching about? It's such a great term. And what is it about, and how do you help others? Would love to learn a bit about that.
Okay. So, wealth coaching, the best way that I can put it, it's a process by which you learn how to transform your relationship with money, your relationship with wealth, by learning to pay attention to your financial decision making through awareness building. Right. And the way that we do that is that we follow a very specific step-by-step methodology where we illuminate and address one's hidden, often hidden patterns of beliefs and behaviors around money, as well as well-being. Right? And with this greater self-awareness, that's when you position yourself to effect not just positive change, but positive and sustainable change, setting the stage for you to be able to achieve whatever it is that you want personally, financially, and in business.
That's so powerful because I truly believe our hidden beliefs drive so much of what we do in life and
Yeah.
in business.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to help someone uncover those is critical for moving
Mm-hmm.
forward, right? In all aspects of business, but particularly around a topic like money. And I'm curious, how did you get into this in the first place, Christine?
So think back to 2008, 2009, because some of us remember that time frame not so fondly, right? It was a pretty tumultuous period of time, right? It's known as the Great Recession, right? It was a period of, oh my gosh, significant volatility, right? Politically, socially, economically. And I think it was the first time that we felt this truly on a global, scale, this economic unrest, on a global scale. And at the time, I was a financial consultant with M&T Securities. This is going way back. Yeah, M&T Securities. And I believe at that point, I had been in the financial industry as an advisor, financial advisor for just shy of 20 years. So I'd been around, for a while. But what I noticed was because of this period of significant volatility, I noticed that that it became this period of intensified fear. And then because of this intensified fear, it seemed that most everyone's decision making, financial decision making became impaired, right? So it was intensified fear, impaired financial decision making, right? People in my clients became impulsive, right? And I don't know if you remember, I mean, people were taking massive losses, 30, 40, 50% hits to their account values, right? And initially, we'd be looking at their account values, their statements, and their projections, but it didn't matter, right? It didn't matter what it said on paper. People could not get past their fear, and they could not control that impulse and that pressure to, that belief, I got to do something now, I have got to stop the bleeding, right? So they would sell, right? They would sell, and they would give no forethought to the potential consequences, right? Midterm or long term. And that's when I noticed what I was missing. That's what I noticed what I was missing as an advisor. There was no one around, and we were not equipped to help individuals get a handle on their financial decision making process, right? So the missing piece was that lack of awareness, that lack of understanding of one's relationship with money, right? Those inner dynamics, the emotional and behavioral, patterns around money. And it was those patterns that were influencing it was those patterns that were influencing the quality of their financial decision making, right? And in turn, it was determining their quality of life, right?
I love
So
it.
that's kind of what spurred. I was like, oh my God. And I think at the time I myself had been working with a coach. She was kind of like a life coach, and I'd been working with her for a couple of years. I remember sitting back and I was like, I wonder if there's a way to incorporate the principles of what life coaching brings, all of that work around self-discovery and self-awareness and the uncovering of these, hidden patterns. I just wondered if there was a way to incorporate those types of principles in with traditional financial advisement. And I had no idea if even such a thing existed. But then a few months later, I ended up leaving M&T Securities, went back on my own, and that's when, ta-da, it kind of began to, reveal itself. And that's how I ultimately made the transition, into what I call wealth coaching. Yeah,
Yeah, that is so interesting. And it just shows how you were able to, in your business, combine two of your passions, right?
yeah,
Financial advising and the spirituality aspect of things, right? That
yes,
gets really
yes,
to the heart of so many of those fears and issues. I love how
that's
you
right.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Most people who follow any of these platforms where this interview will be are small business owners, typically very small businesses. So they're solopreneurs.
Mm,
I know you work with small businesses as a part of your practice. What are some of the most common money issues that you see come up for small business owners? And how do you
okay.
help them with that?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to share with you two. There's
Okay.
more, right? There's more than two, but I think in the interest of time, there are two that I have seen or that I believe are the most prevalent. And I had even noticed this in myself because, before I joined Note Advisors, right? So I'm a wealth coach situated inside of a financial firm. So I've got people that do the traditional financial planning and investment management so I can just focus on the coaching. But before that, before I was situated inside of a financial firm, I was a solopreneur as well for almost, I think, 10 years or so. Yeah, yeah. So these were patterns that I noticed in myself that I had to deal with, right? I had to learn to heal, transform, shift. And then of course, in my work over the years with other, business owners and practitioners, these are patterns that I've noticed in them, right? That I've been able to help them overcome. So the first one, this is that, and this one isn't just a common money issue. It's also a chronic one, and it's chronic under earning, right? Chronic under, right? Chronic under
Yep.
earning. So this is typically symptomatic of a lack and scarcity mindset, right? And some of the language, right? Some of the internal language we may become, or we may be familiar with, or at least it's, if we do some of the digging around and bring it to into our awareness, some of the language sounds like, I'm not good enough, or I don't have what it takes. Right? I don't have what it takes to make this work, to build this, to make this bigger, whatever it is. I don't deserve it. Um, I'm not worthy of this, right?
Mhm.
There's
Yep.
what, right?
Yep.
There's no value. Well, there's no value in this. It goes against my principles, right? For those that are perceive themselves as more altruistic. It's a tough word to say, right? It could be this just goes against my principles. I'm just supposed to be of service, right? And what it is that I impart, I shouldn't be charging, a fee or for what I do. And perfectionism. So perfectionism can also can render or can show up as under earning, right? This chronic under earning. So what could this look like? So if you are just starting out, you might be struggling with establishing those initial fees or your pricing, right? Whether it's a product or a service, right? So you struggle at arriving at that fee or at that pricing. Maybe you've been in business for a little while and you're ready to expand, right? Or perhaps because now you've got more experience under your belt, um, it demands greater value. So you want to increase your fee, but you've got resistance,
Mhm.
right? Either you're resisting increasing that fee, or perhaps you feel guilty, right? So the individual that was saying it goes against my principles, right? What I do, I just want to be of service. I can't charge somebody for this. But then you realize, well, I still got to be able to live in the world. I still got to be able to pay my bills, right? So you charge and then you feel guilty, right? Then you feel guilty. You feel as though you've done something wrong. What else? You could see your pricing or your fees as a cost versus a payment for someone, right? For your client or your customer, right? Meaning you are going to receive payment for whatever your product is or whatever your service is, and then yes, you feel guilty because somewhere in the back of your mind you feel as though you might be shortchanging them. Oh, they're not going to get as much value as I think that they're going to receive, right? So they become the loser while you become the winner, type of thing, right? It's not an equal, exchange. Thereby, it's a cost. You could also be assuming that your potential client or customer is going to see your fees as a cost to them, right? Rendering themselves as the victim and then you, the business owner, as the thief, right? When we bring an attitude of cost, there's always a winner and loser. But when we bring the attitude of payment, all parties are benefiting, right? We're not cutting ourselves off from receiving in any capacity, right? So that could show up in under earning, right? That pattern of under earning. You could be trying to force a sale, or if you're desperate to make a sale, what do you end up doing? You slash your prices, you discount, right? Okay. What else? Language. I'm stuck, or I can't seem to up level my business. I want to expand, but I just can't take it to the next level. Right. That too could be symptomatic of of a pattern of under earning. But it could also have that whole the language of I'm stuck could also take on two different meanings, right? So it could show up as you establish a revenue goal, right? You set a goal and you miss it, right? You miss it. And for whatever reason, things didn't work out the way you wanted them to. So now it's preventing you from being able to move forward in other ways. Another way to look at this, though, is perhaps you set your goal and you didn't just hit your goal, you actually smashed it out of the park, right? You hit it right out of the ballpark. But instead of feeling ecstatic and thrilled, you still have this feeling as though, wait a minute, that's it? That's it? You kind of feel like, gosh, I thought that there would be more to this. Like they're all like you're missing something, right? Like even smashing your goals wasn't enough. You still feel dissatisfied, right? Or unfulfilled, right? So that too is connected with that pattern of under earning. I know it sounds wonky, but it's connected, with that. Yeah. So that's the first. That would be the first money issue, chronic money issue that I see in business owners.
Oh my goodness. And there's so many elements within that.
Yes.
Oh, and as you're describing it, different clients that I see, especially early on coming to me, they're popping up for each one of those examples. And like
Yeah.
you were sharing too about the term cost versus payment.
Hmm. Hmm.
In my mind, the payment was also investment, right?
Yes.
Right? There are
Yes.
just different connotations for that transaction that can either empower or disempower the transaction.
Absolutely.
So, oh my
Absolutely.
goodness, yeah, so many.
Hmm.
So related to that, and all of those different elements, like, may I ask that what would you recommend to a business owner who is facing those various mindset issues?
Yeah. So as soon as you notice, those issues, right? And whatever your language is or whatever the circumstance is, if something's not working out right, and you have a sense that it has to do with your either the quality of your financial decision making or just it has something to do with money, then what I would say is you got to start digging into that relationship you have with money, right? You've got to come to know what these hidden, right? And again, and we can talk a little bit more about what we mean by hidden, right? These unconscious, these hidden, belief and behavioral patterns are. Bring them to light so that you can see them, so you're aware of them, and then that you can ultimately deal with them, right? But we can't deal with what we don't know, right? It's like oh my gosh, what's that expression? If you can't name it, you can't heal it,
Hmm. Yep.
right? Yeah, yeah. So that's really the first thing you got to do. You just have to have the readiness and the willingness to start diving into and exploring your relationship with money, right? Start treating money as your classroom again for self-discovery, so you can learn about yourself and in turn become a better and more effective decision maker.
And I'm assuming by this, you help people bring forth
Yep.
that awareness. You have tools that help people.
Yep. Yep, exactly, exactly. So one of the tools that I use, and actually this is a tool and it's available on our website. It's an online, it's kind of a quick and fun little online assessment tool, the Money Types quiz.
Yep.
Yeah, so the Money Types quiz is actually a tool that I use as part of that step-by-step methodology. So it's part of that core process, the wealth coaching core process. But it's also a great conversation starter. So if you're someone that's curious about what it is that we're talking about here today, then allow yourself to kind of dip your toes in the water by taking the money types quiz. So if you don't know what I mean, I'm just thinking, here I am, I'm saying money types, assuming everybody knows what I mean by money types.
Good,
But
sure.
right? But so money types, there are 8 money types, and types is actually short for archetypes. right? So some individuals might be, if you have some background in psychology or spirituality, right? Because spirituality, individuals like Carolyn Mace and Joseph Campbell, and I can go back further, like Thomas Merlin, right? They all, and Carl Jung, right? So these all these individuals um worked with archetypes, right? And the way that they worked with archetypes and their clients was so that clients had a way to see themselves better, right? Which gave them, again, just greater knowledge about themselves, a greater understanding about themselves. So it's a wonderful way to learn about yourself, but in through the context of money. So these 8 money archetypes are true to the Jungian archetype. So the words, the word, and I'll tell you what the 8 words are, but the words are true to the Jungian archetype. So nothing is made up. We didn't deviate and make up our own own uh names for these money types. So it's the innocent, oh my gosh, the innocent, the victim, the warrior, the martyr, the fool, the creator artist, the tyrant, and the magician. So those are the 8 money types. And each one of those has certain characteristics and tendencies that relate to patterns, right? Our belief and behavioral patterns around money, right? So to give you like a quick example, the warrior. So the warrior is actually one of the 8 money types that we want to be of active influence in our financial decision making, right? The warrior, think of the warrior as being the master of the financial or the physical world. Right. So they're task oriented, they're goal oriented, they are decisive, they're confident, um, they're really good about following the advice of others. And when I say others, I mean the advice of specialists and professionals, right? People that they can trust and that truly specialize in a given area. So you want warriors, right? Because they are your action takers. The money type the ideal money type, the money type that you want to be a primary influence is the magician, right? Because the magician is the money type that represents, oh my gosh, non-judgment, right? They can see the bigger picture, the full picture, and they can do so as the silent and objective observer, right? The magician has learned all of their lessons from the past, right? So they don't hang on to old wounds like the innocent does or the victim does, right? They've really learned from their past, and all of those lessons bring great wisdom to their decision making, right? Helps them to be impartial. The magician is also, oh my gosh, uh, really clear about their core values, right? And not only are they, when it comes to decision making, not only are they aligned with their core values, meaning they know how to ensure that it's their core values that are driving the decisions, right? Financial and otherwise, right? And the reason why they're able to do that is because magicians know how to slow their thinking process down and arrive or come back to the present moment, because the magician knows that all good and right and effective financial decisions can only come from the present moment.
I'm
So that's
curious.
just a
Yeah, no, it's so interesting. And I'm wondering, are there, do people change types? It sounds like the goal is to become more of the magician and more of
yes.
the warrior. So does
Yeah.
that happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, because once you start digging in and you begin to shed light on the patterns that are actually working against you, right? So there are certain attributes and tendencies of, well, victim is a good one, tyrant, right? That's the cool thing. That's kind of the nice thing with these Jungian archetypes. These are very familiar words. We actually speak an archetypal language and we don't even know it, right? Because when you think of tyrant, you have an instant image, right, that comes to mind. Oh, yeah, I already have. It's like this intuitive knowing of what the tyrant is, what the tyrant looks like, and how the tyrant might operate, with money in your world, right? Right? Because you think about it, right? Well, we're business owners, so some of us might have some control issues. Right? We might be quick to frustration. We might be quick to becoming angry and frustrated. And when that happens, that's going to sabotage the effectiveness of our financial decisions. Right?
Oh, this is
So
so interesting. So when you start working with a client, do you start out by having them go through this money quiz so they can identify their archetype? Because it sounds like that informs so much of their
it does.
habits, their beliefs, their ways of being, so you can see what needs to shift. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's one of the first exercises. So it depends on how we come to the conversation, right? So everybody on this call, I've mentioned the money types quiz, and I can certainly provide the quiz link, to you, Connie, and you can post it, and then people
Please.
take the quiz, right? And I'm
Yeah.
happy to get on a 20-30 minute call to help you decipher your results. Um, so that's one way that people will experience the quiz. And then of course the other way, if they do engage with this coaching, that money type quiz is part of the initial, step-by-step process that I take people through. So it's also combined with the money biography and money history, right? So we're going to delve into your money history, because it's not only is it important to bring to the surface what these patterns are, it's also really important to see where they came from. Like, who modeled this relationship? Who modeled these patterns that I have? Was it mom? Was it dad? Was it someone else that was of significant influence while I was growing up? Or was it something that I just made up on my own?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
right? Which happens. The funny thing is, and I remember when I first learned this, and this is part of not just psychology, but it's part of neuroscience too, that between the ages of 2 and 12, that's when we are developing our relationship with money.
So interesting. Well, and of so
Right.
many patterns in life.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all
Yeah.
these patterns run parallel. So the patterns that you identify in your relationship with money, you're going to see these patterns in your personal life, in your personal relationships. You're going to see these patterns in your business, right? These patterns you see them repeat in all and any facet of your life.
Oh, I love this. This is just fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing about, I mean, we could just dive into this so much more,
I
but
know,
in the
right?
interest of time, but I will absolutely put the link to that quiz and encourage everyone to take that and then follow through with you to learn more, and to uncover these beliefs, to find success, get to an aspect of incorporating those parts of these other archetypes that are so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And just like to ask you, is there anything else that just comes to your mind right now related to small business owners that you feel might be helpful to share? I know there's so much, but is
I
anything
know
else?
there is. That the other one I mentioned, remember how I said there were actually two common, right? So
Yeah,
the second one, and this actually came to me when I just watched one of your prior podcasts. It's a recent one. It was a woman and she was talking about sales, and she said how she works with individuals who say, "I hate sales." And when I was listening, I go, "Oh, that's the creator artist money type right there." That's the language of the creator money type, of the creator artist money type. So the second common and chronic money issue related to business owners is avoidance and aversion. Avoidance and aversion. So a lot of times business owners will just want to kind of go do this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to pay attention. Someone else deal with it. You take care of it, right? I don't want to deal with money. I don't want to think about the money, right?
yeah,
Um, yeah, right. They just kind of like the ostrich, approach. And that aversion thing, right? The aversion comes in, let's see, because I've worked with a number of like licensed mental health counselors and therapists in the past, right? That have their own practices. And remember, I mentioned that altruistic, right?
yeah,
Thing
yeah.
that can get in the way.
Yes,
So that the aversion comes from the fear that they're going to be perceived as inauthentic,
I
right?
can see
So
that.
Yeah, so that's how, the aversion of money and the I hate sales. Oh my gosh. If you're saying I hate sales, then that's a massive red flag. I don't know how we could, wave that red flag or make that flag any, bigger. There's an issue there with your relationship with money, and it would serve you so well to to learn more about your relationship with money and take the steps, to heal it and transform it. Because when you do, things can only get better. Things can only get easier, right?
I,
Because
oh,
again, if you think about it, nearly every decision we make is influenced by money.
yeah.
From the moment we wake up to the moment where our head hits the pillow again, we are dealing with money all the time. But the problem is, most of the time, most of our decisions occur at that unconscious or passive, from that passive place. 95% of our thinking process is passive,
Yeah.
right?
No, it makes so much sense. And I love how this is coming together with my 12-week revenue accelerator group. We're in a sales module right now and talking about that.
Ah,
And
mm-hmm.
mindset is right at the very top of what we discuss. This goes so much deeper. I want to take another opportunity for us to just simply dive into those archetypes and what they mean and how to shift. I think that would be so, so interesting. Um,
Yeah.
but thank you for sharing that, and thank you for watching Denise's episode. I thought was really great too.
Yeah.
Think about being more impactful in sales, but it's really interesting to hear how behind it all is your feelings toward money, and it makes perfect sense.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Giselle. Oh, we have Giselle here. Thank you, Giselle, for being here. She said it's like today's marketing action call. Yeah, yeah. We were talking about except going so much deeper. Oh gosh, so interesting. So thank you for bringing this
Yeah.
up.
No,
Um,
you're welcome. You're
yeah,
welcome. And I know you had mentioned earlier, the spiritual, component. And I think, for folks that maybe are a little less familiar with what that could actually look like or mean, think about resilience, right? Think about resilience in the face of transition or change, right? Because as business owners, if we experience a personal major life transition, right? Whether we call for this change or life just, pulls the rug out from underneath us.
mhm,
Um, we can take a pretty big hit, right? Emotionally and otherwise. Um, and I think, where our awareness around our spiritual relationship with money, what that looks like is how resilient, oh my God, now I can't talk. How resilient are we in the face of change or transition, right? Because when we are faced with change and transition, what kind of impact does that have on the quality of our decision making? And how does that impact the viability and sustainability of our business?
mhm.
Right. So resilience, I think, is a big factor, and it is very much, connected with the spiritual component of our relationship with money. Right. In other words, can we be peaceful? Can we remain calm in the face of change and transition,
Mm,
whether it's related to our business or otherwise?
yep, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
All right, Christine, share with me if someone would like to dive into this further. I'll definitely put the link to the quiz and I'll put your website up there. But what is the best way to reach you? Because I'm sure that people want to explore this more. It's at the heart of everything in business.
It
So,
is. It really
yeah.
is. It really, yeah. And you know what? We didn't even touch on, we talk about business owners in business. But what about those that are coming to the end, right? They're looking to retire. Yeah. So individuals that are looking to sell their business, that's another, big one. Hard for many to let go because their business ultimately becomes their identity, right? Yeah. So they have difficulty in value, business valuation, and then ultimately the sale of that business. So they're, so that comes into play as well.
Right. It's so
Um,
interesting because it's at all stages of a business, right?
all
When someone
stages.
is starting out,
Yeah,
as they're growing and shifting and tweaking and fine tuning things, as they're coming to that maturity stage. And I
that's right.
imagine different beliefs and habits come into play at those different levels. And it's so important to be aware of the money mind that's going on behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. And those money types too, they can shift and change. It's not a personality test,
Yeah.
right? When you take the money types quiz, it's an indication of of what is currently of influence. So you could take the quiz, today and then do some work, right? Make those changes. And then let's say a year from now, something happens, right? And now what you made passive is now active again. It's now, you might see different patterns, negative patterns show up that weren't there before. So it is a dynamic, relationship, as we know, because life is dynamic. It's not static.
Yep.
But how to reach me? So probably email Christine at noteadvisor.com.
And I'll be sure to put this in the
Yep.
comments with the video and with the YouTube and podcast show notes for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Email.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. So the email address, the money type quiz, because once you land on the money type quiz, now you're on our site. So you'll be able to. My blog is there. I've got some blog articles there. There's a resource tab. If you click on that, there's blogs there. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think where else. Probably email that money type quiz is going to be the easiest and quickest way to reach me.
Oh, and I think people are going to be fascinated by that. Giselle brought up another great point here that, uh, like boundaries, the
Yes,
moment matters. Finances and how we feel about them shifts too. Absolutely, Giselle.
absolutely.
Such a good point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Financial boundaries, establishing financial boundaries with your kids,
Hmm.
and within the context of your business.
Oh, such great information.
Yeah.
Well, Christine, if and we're going a little bit over here, but if you don't mind, and this is completely off the top of my head, but I'm thinking, is there something else that's anything else that's come up for you during the course of the conversation that has triggered in your mind that you'd like to share for small business owners that maybe we haven't covered so far? And it's fine if there's not.
Yeah, I
This has been so
don't think
fascinating.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, no, no, I don't think so. Yeah, no, and I think if your listeners, again, if you're curious, by all means, feel free to take that money type quiz. Take it, and I'm more than happy to have, like I said, a half-hour Zoom conversation with you to dive into your results, because it's really that's when you dive into those results, that's when you're going to get a better understanding of what all the 8 money types mean, right? What they mean, what they represent, and how they're influencing.
Perfect.
Um, yeah, your
Absolutely.
your
Perfect.
own decision making. Yeah.
Well, Christine, thank you so much. Thank you
You're
very
welcome. Thank
much.
you.
And thank you to our audience, whether you're here in the Facebook Live, on YouTube, or listening on the podcast. Very much appreciate you being here. And I'm sure you took away some wonderful nuggets of gold away for your own business. So remember, go in there, take that money quiz, contact Christine if you're curious about improving your wealth mindset. Christine is amazing for wealth coaching support. And go to my website, scatteredtostreamline.com. If you're looking for streamlined strategic growth in your business, you can download a free copy of my Maximize Your Profits guide right on our homepage. So, cheers to streamlined business success and a great money mindset to everyone
That's
here.
right. That's right.
Yes, thanks for being here, folks.